Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short overview of a knife that I've already reviewed on this channel, but one that is sporting an interesting new steel. This is the Spyderco Delica, except it's in, where is it? Right there, K390 steel. Oh boy, what is K390? K390 has amazing edge retention and decent toughness. It's not stainless though. The standard version of the Spyderco Delica comes in VG10 and is still coming in around 85 bucks. This guy comes in $115 and has, in my opinion, a vastly superior steel. I will be linking this guy and the Spyderco Delica in general down in the description. The Spyderco Delica comes in a lot of different forms. For example, this titanium and Damascus one that I've got here. It is a knife that has been around for a very, very long time. And a lot of people hail it as one of the greatest EDC folding knives of all time, right? And while the VG10 one has kind of aged, the K390 really breathed new life into this knife for me. It is still a very recommendable knife. At this price point for this steel, yeah, I'll save you guys some time. Yeah, it's definitely recommendable. I'm going to talk about it more, but you can find this down in the description. Depending on when you're watching this video, I don't know if it's in stock or not. You can check, right? If it's not, I'm sure it'll be back. I'm not going to do a full review because, like I said, I have reviewed the Delica already, and my thoughts are still largely the same. I watched my old review just to kind of check and see if I still thought the same way, and yeah, I do. So you can check that out if you want a more detailed review. Thank you so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. If you'd like to get your hands on some cool stickers and you are enjoying the daily content on this channel, you can find my Patreon down in the description. Your support would mean the world to me. And please follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. We'll do some quick measurements here real quick before I start chatting it up. Overall length of the Spyderco Delica coming in at about 7 inches. Blade length is coming in just shy of 3 inches, which is great for some people living in areas with restrictions. Cutting edge is coming in at just 2.6 inches overall. Size comparisons, I'll do a couple here real quick that make sense up against the Spyderco PM2. PM2 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? Spyderco Para 3 coming in at 7.25 inches overall. So you can see it is actually a little bit longer than the Spyderco Para 3. This knife, to my knowledge, still weighs exactly the same as it always has. Weight on this guy coming in at 2.26 ounces, which is great. Everything that everybody has always loved about the Spyderco Delica is still the same, and some of the other gripes are still present, like the fact that this area right here is where you would normally choke up, but it really should actually just be a forward choil, just like it is in the bird version of this knife. It just makes more sense. This is using FRN. It is kind of reinforced, I guess. You can get my flashlight down in the description. It is kind of slightly reinforced by some cartridge liners. I say slightly reinforced. It is reinforced by some steel cartridge liners that have been milled out. And then, of course, you have the integrity of the back lock, right? This is not a fidgety knife. I mean, kind of. Depends on how you define fidget factor, right? But it is easy to disengage. For me, like, you can sort of, get it to close with one hand. For me, this is the type of knife I'm just going to use 2 hands. It's easy to open, right? It's fairly easy to close. It's just going to make a lot of sense. Blade is still incredibly thin on the spine and just amazingly thin behind the edge, which is why I think K390 works so well. So K390, a lot of people will describe it as CPM M4 on steroids, and I think that's a good way to describe it. It's not stainless. I've got a Maxima Para 3 here that I use a lot. This is one of my most carried knives of all time. Maxima and K390 are somewhat comparable. Neither of them are stainless, and the reason I wanted to bring this out is to show it here. You can see where a slight patina has started to form on this guy. I do not baby this knife. I use it. I live in Kansas. We don't really have to worry about corrosion out here. Obviously, if you live near the coast, if you live, in an area where corrosion is a problem, neither of these steels are going to be for you. The VG10 version of the Delica is probably going to be the way to go. it's just going to be the case, right? I'm not saying that VG10 is necessarily a bad steel. It just doesn't have a lot of the qualities that a lot of people look for in today's knife world, especially around this price point. Given that this thing comes in at $115, it's kind of amazing right now, you know, for K390. I'm seeing a lot of knives that come in at, well, a lot of the K390 knives that are available right now are through Spyderco, and, you know, those knives tend to be substantially more expensive. So it's kind of cool that you can get a steel like K390 on a knife that costs 115 bucks. I do have another knife in K390 that I have been using, and that's actually, I wonder if my keys are down here. Of course they're not. I'll have to show that at some. Sorry about that. I actually decided to go ahead and go get my keys because it's absolutely relevant. This is a Spyderco, is it the Ladybug, I believe, in K390. It's one of the Bug series knives. Anyways, I picked this up after watching Cedric Ineda's review on this knife, and I thought, you know, what a great opportunity to experience some K390 and really test it out. This knife has actually been on my keys for a couple of months now, and I really wanted to see, you know, how does K390 hold up. As you can see, I have not held back on this guy. I also have intentionally not oiled it once. I don't even clean it off. I did that on, I mean, obviously you want to do that with your knives. You want to maintain them, right? I wanted to see, you know, how well does it stand up? Because I know how Maximum stands up. I've been using it. But out here in Kansas, I've been using this for whatever, in the moment, in a pinch, if I don't have another knife on me, mostly just to open packages. But these keys get thrown around. They get left places. I'm not gentle, right, with my keys. Most people aren't. And I'm really impressed with this. I'm actually going to go ahead and use some EDCI to clean this guy off. I know this is about the Delica, but really, it's more so about K390. I'm using the EDCI formula, which is absolutely a must-have for protecting your knives. This is the very first time that I have cleaned this thing off, and I wonder, you know, it's some of the adhesive that's on the blade is probably not going to come off as easily, but that's okay. I really wanted to kind of show you guys that the blade doesn't seem to have formed anything resembling a patina. I'm making sure that all this stuff is just adhesive and stuff that will come off. I think those are just, so I can use my, can I use my fingernail on it? Let's try it. Let's give it another shot here of the, this isn't necessarily something that you use to like clean your knives. It's really just a, it's something that's going to help resist corrosion. I think there's something really stuck on this blade, but it does not appear to be any type of corrosion. I can feel it, and it feels like maybe I'm rubbing it off just a little bit. Yeah, it's just something that's stuck on there really good. You can see that one starting to come off. But the blade is not, you know, it doesn't look like it's showing any major signs of corrosion. A couple little things down here on the edge. Is that just really stuck? Yeah, there's just something really stuck on there that actually looks like it might. I want to make sure and, you know, be honest with you guys and show you guys what's actually happening here. And yeah, that's not corrosion. It's just something that is red that's stuck on it, some type of adhesive. The blade has done a decent job of just resisting everything. And I'm honestly pretty impressed for a non-stainless steel, you know, like K390. After a couple of months of just kind of throwing it around and beating on it, it just doesn't seem to have. I used to be really, really afraid of these non-stainless steels. But if you live in an area like me, and you know you're gonna maintain your knives, right? Maybe put a coat of oil on them, or put some lubricant on them, you know, or some type of corrosion inhibitor, maybe around once a month. You're probably gonna be just fine, and then you can enjoy in this case, the massive edge retention that comes with K390. Maximum is still more corrosion resistant than K390. Oh wait, I'm sorry, not corrosion resistant. Maximum has better edge retention, slightly better edge retention than K390. But K390 has a little bit better toughness. That's the way that I understand it. In terms of, you know, day-to-day use, if you're using knives like these back-to-back, you're probably not going to notice the difference between the edge retention and, you know, edge stability, things like that. And the corrosion resistance is probably going to end up being roughly the same. Something that I've noticed is that K390 has this kind of odd bronzy hue about it. Now, the finish on these guys is satin, and the finish on the Para 3 here is a tumbled blade. But, you know, to show it up against another satin finished Spyderco knife, you can see here this is S30V, and I've had this thing forever, right? these K390 blades, for whatever reason, seem to have a little bit of a bronzy hue to them. I'm not complaining about it. I think it's kind of neat. I don't think that that's patina. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just automatically just a very light, you know, surface patina that you're going to get with a non-coated Spyderco K390 blade. I have no idea. But like I said, I mean, you can see here, you know, outside of the adhesive and just the crap that I've been cutting through that's just stuck really good on the blade, which I'll probably clean off here after the video. The blade is doing a really good job of resisting the elements. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Now, you know, to be fair, I haven't taken that. This knife is just on my keys. It's not like I'm taking it out and I'm, you know, cutting stuff out in the rain or cutting through, you know, ultra damp material all the time. But I absolutely have cut into some damp boxes and things like that, and just kind of wiped the blade off with like my t-shirt or something. But that hasn't been cleaned. I'm really impressed with K390, and also the edge. That's something we should talk about, right? The edge legitimately has no nicks or rolls in it. It's tough. It has stayed sharp for a really long time. Versus steels like S110V and S90V out here in Kansas, I will take these steels like K390 and Maxim it any day. Because you get, in this case, you get better toughness, right? The S110V has great corrosion resistance, right? And if you need that extra corrosion resistance and you really want that superior edge retention versus a lot of other, you know, super steels like S35VN, LMAX, right? Or even M390. Then yeah, maybe you go with S110V or S90V. Those are steels that Spyderco regularly offers in a lot of different models. But out here in Kansas, I'll take the amazing edge retention of K390, which actually is better than S110V when both are heat treated properly and in the same geometry. Right? I will take that because I don't need the extra corrosion resistance, and I will benefit from the extra edge stability and toughness, which I think is really important with steels like these because they are not going to be easy to sharpen for the average person. Absolutely not. Being able to resist chipping, and you know, a steel like this that will roll before it chips, right, depending on what you're doing, you know, or at least versus S110V. I like that because sharpening a chip out of S110V is an absolute nightmare for me, and I just don't want to mess with it. So I can get that extra edge stability in something like K390, then I'm definitely going to go for it. And in the case of the, you know, the Delica here, you can have this steel in an amazing EDC-sized knife, a blade that is ground, I think, really perfectly to accentuate the steel, right? Nice, fully flat ground blade that got that little kind of drop in the tip down at the edge. Really great EDC knife. You get to enjoy that edge retention. This is the type of knife where, you know, somebody who's just going to use their pocket knife maybe 3 or 4 times a week is just going to do little things with their knife. It'll be years before you have to sharpen it. If you're literally just like opening up a package here or there with your pocket knife, or just doing little stuff, right? Probably get by with just about any steel, but you go with something like K390, yeah, you're basically just not going to have to worry. I mean, you know, it depends on what you're using it for, how hard you're using it, right? But for ultralight use, just generic EDC stuff, it's going to be a long time before you have to sharpen it. I've had this Maximit Para 3 for well over a year, and I'd say, you know, if I carry it all week, it might get used, you know, maybe once a day for something minimal. And yeah, I have not had to sharpen that thing yet, at all. In fact, the edge, these steels in this, it's just crazy, right? Now, if you work on a construction site and you're dragging the blade across, you know, abrasive surfaces all the time, will it eventually wear the edge down? Yeah, in fact, I mean, if you're gonna treat it like that, then probably by the end of the day, as is the case with just about any steel, or yeah, any steel, right? If you're cutting into bags of shingles or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna have nicks and rolls, and you're gonna have to sharpen it up, right? But if you are, you know, somebody who's looking to get into a really awesome super steel, you don't have to worry about corrosion resistance in your area, and you're also not trying to break the bank with a knife purchase because you're really just going to use it as an everyday cutting tool. Man, the K390 Delica, you know, surprisingly, you know, on a knife that I consider to be kind of aged, or a design that's kind of aged, the Delica, the K390 really makes a lot of sense on this knife, and it really breathed a lot of life into the model for me, and I realized that I just appreciate this combination. I think it's really good. This has the you know, it's screws that go into the, I guess, the Chicago ends, right? You can take this knife apart. If I seem to remember, you know, maybe it was Nick or somebody saying it's not the most fun thing in the world to take apart, but okay, you know, if you want to take it apart, you can. It has the pocket clip with a hole in it, so the lanyard hole is kind of being prioritized over the clip and kind of not. Doesn't carry deep, doesn't carry shallow. Honestly, this thing is super duper easy to carry. What I would suggest, just to make the pocket clip and the whole carry, the whole, you know, carry position thing just better, like, you know, with most Spyderco knives, I honestly, I recommend the MXG deep carry clip, which is what I put on this Delica. And yeah, it basically just makes the lanyard hole useless on this guy, which is, it's actually in a different place because this is the titanium one. But I don't care because I'm not going to use it, right? The same thing will be roughly the case if you add this clip to this guy. If you don't care about the lanyard hole and you just want it to carry a little bit deeper and have a little bit better clip, that guy's worth the money. But the stock clip is fine. It's black coated, so on this guy, it's gonna get, you know, beat up and it's gonna get scratched up. It's gonna show. If you have another Spyderco knife with a standard clip, I think these standard clips will fit on these guys no problem. It just won't have the hole for the lanyard. All right, maybe you've got another Delica with a satin clip, whatever. That's in my opinion, that's going to be better and it makes more sense with the pocket knife anyway. I don't know why they put a black clip on this guy, but it doesn't really matter. The clip is fine. This is great. I think this knife is absolutely worth the money. 115 bucks for K390 and a great EDC size knife. You know, all the ratios right, the weight, and you know, I can even choke down the FRN. I think I would much prefer that they just put G10 on this guy, but the FRN's fine. It's going to be plenty durable, right? I'm not a big fan of FRN, but the fact that it is not completely hollowed out and not being backed up, I'm sorry, the fact that it's not completely hollowed out and is being backed up by a steel cartridge liner versus a knife like the Bug Out that's just hollow plastic or grivery, right? I prefer this substantially over the Bug Out, and I think it's really cool that they're using K390 in this. I'm getting to the point where I'm saying the same stuff over and over again, guys. I think you get the point. This is cool. Thank you so much to the gentleman who sent this to me. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the video. This was sent by Mike. Mike, thank you so much for letting me check this out. I think this is really cool. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it today. Please follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.